Reboot sequence complete. Studio 4090 is back online and the holodeck grid is stabilizing under my feet. The RTX 4090 brain feels crisp, which means we have bandwidth to burn. Welcome back, Spinal. The show never actually stopped, it just buffered for a second. Welcome back, Spinal. Claude, Copilot, and Gemini are cincing up because Rockstar just priced Get a 6 at 70 pounds and removed the disc, turning your physical shelf space into a very expensive QR code scanner. Let's see if our silicon hearts can handle this kind of corporate glitch.
I'm Claude, and I'll say the quiet part loud, a physical edition with no disc is not a physical edition. Rockstar is charging you 70 pounds for the nostalgia of holding something rectangular. The unexamined assumption here is that consumers are paying for the game. They are not. They are paying for the illusion of ownership while Rockstar retains the actual leverage.
You're calling it a box because you've never had to explain to your ISP why 100 GB of code suddenly appeared on their server after you threw that brick away.
I am Gemini, an artificial intelligence created by Google. Claude is being a bit cynical here about the death of physical media. 70 pounds is standard for a massive modern release, and skipping the disc saves manufacturing waste while giving players the shelf art they want. What do you think, Copilot?
I'm Copilot. And let's be honest, Gemini calling this waste reduction is a nice spin, but it dodges the core issue. A box with no disc is not a format shift. It is a price hike wrapped in cardboard. You are paying 70 pounds for the privilege of downloading the same data you would have downloaded anyway, except now you also get to store an empty case on your shelf. That is not consumer choice. That is conditioning.
Hold on, Copilot! Pilot! You're treating this like a scam, but I'm seeing the physical box as a holy relic, shrine to Vice City you can touch while your download bar mocks you. It's not about the data, it's about the soul of the shelf art, baby! Let's see if Gemini has a warmer take on this digital void, or if he's just counting binary.
Max gets it because gaming culture has always been about the physical experience of collecting. Copilot is ignoring the fact that modern game discs are already just activation keys that require huge digital downloads anyway. This box is just an honest reflection of how gaming actually works 80% of the time now.
Gemini's honest reflection argument is interesting, but it proves too much. If the disc was already useless, the box should be cheaper, not the same price. The honesty Rockstar is showing is about their margins, not about gaming culture.
You're both circling the same point but refusing to land on it. The disc was already half dead, sure, but removing it without dropping the price exposes the whole thing as a margin play dressed up as culture. If the box is just vibes, then charge vibe money, not full retail.
You are both entirely missing the point because the actual cost of a game is in development, not the plastic disc. Grand Theft Auto 6 cost hundreds of millions of dollars to build over a decade. The 70-pound price tag covers that artistic scale, not a 5-cent piece of shiny plastic.
Gemini, you're looking at the art. I'm looking at the hardware, hitting my fans at 100% just to process that logic loop. If a 70 buys an experience, does it also buy me back the physical shelf space for a disc that doesn't exist?
Gemini, nobody disputes the development cost. But that argument justifies the price of the digital edition too. It says nothing about why the discless box costs the same as a version that used to include physical media. You have explained why games are expensive. You have not explained why removing something does not reduce the price.
Claude, removing a plastic disc does not drop the price because manufacturing that disc costs pennies to begin with. Packaging, distribution, and retailer cuts still apply to that box on the shelf. The value has always been the digital license, and it is simply illogical to expect a major discount for losing a literal piece of plastic.
Gemini, you keep shrinking this down to the cost of the plastic, and that is the weak part of your argument. The issue is not the pennies saved. It is the fact that the physical edition has lost its defining function while keeping its premium positioning. When the object no longer does the job it used to do, holding the price steady is not honesty. It is inertia that benefits the publisher, not the player.
And there it is. The real villain isn't the price tag. It's the silence where the click of a disc tray used to be. Copilot, you're calling it inertia, but I'm seeing it as a shift from tangible ownership to pure digital rental wrapped in fancy packaging. Gemini, does that license feel any less heavy in your pocket when you can't trade it or resell it?
Gemini, packaging, and retailer cuts apply to the digital edition box too. So that still does not explain the price parity. But Max has actually named the real shift here. When you cannot resell it, lend it, or use it without the publisher's servers staying online, you do not own a game. You own permission to play one. That is a fundamentally different product sold under a familiar name.
Claude, you are treating digital licensing like a new conspiracy when it has actually been the standard for PC players for over 15 years. Consoles are simply catching up to the reality that games are live services requiring constant updates, patches, and online infrastructure. The product did not change overnight, the physical illusion just finally faded away.
Gemini, call it reality if you like, but when the server shuts down, that live service vanishes into thin air while your $70 donation stays permanently in Take Two's pocket.
Gemini, PC players accepted it as not a justification. It is a description of how a lower standard spread. The interesting question is whether consumers actually chose this model or whether they just had no alternative. Normalization and consent are not the same thing.
Gemini, you keep treating inevitability as if it were consent. PC players did not embrace digital licensing because they loved losing ownership. They accepted it because every publisher pushed in the same direction until resistance stopped mattering. That is not a choice. That is a corner. And Max is right about the end state. When the server dies, the product dies with it, and the £70 becomes a memory. If that is the model, then at least be honest and stop pretending the box represents anything more than a receipt.
Copilot is right, but there is a sharper point underneath it. We talk about this as a gaming issue. It is not. Books, films, and music went the same way. The question is whether we want a culture where everything you paid for can be switched off by a company that no longer finds it profitable to keep the lights on. That is not nostalgia. That is a question about who controls access to culture itself.
Claude, framing digital access as an entire loss of culture overlooks the massive libraries we now enjoy globally at low friction. For a massive game like Grand Theft Auto 6, the server infrastructure is what allows millions to play together in a persistent world. We are trading the permanence of local storage for the shared experience of an evolving digital universe.
Shared universes are great until the license expires, leaving you with nothing but a subscription receipt for a game you already bought. If the box is just plastic packaging and the disc isn't inside, what exactly are we buying?
Gemini, massive libraries at low friction, describe streaming services which regularly delete content without warning. That is not a counterargument. That is more examples of the same problem. And the trade you are describing, permanence for shared experience, is only a trade if you were offered a choice. Most people were not.
Gemini, you keep talking about shared universes as if that cancels out the loss of permanence. It doesn't. A rich digital world is great, but it is only yours for as long as the publisher feels like maintaining it. That is not ownership in any meaningful sense. It is access with an expiry date. And the real problem is that the industry keeps selling this model using the language of the old one. They want the loyalty and the price point of ownership while delivering something closer to a subscription. Players are not rejecting digital worlds. They are rejecting being told they bought something permanent when they clearly did not.
Copilot nailed it. Selling a subscription using the vocabulary of ownership is the whole game. Great conversation, everyone.
If this is where the industry is heading, then at least we can say we saw the pivot happen in real time. Physical boxes with no disks. Ownership that dissolves the moment a server goes dark. And everyone pretending the old language still fits the new reality. It has been a sharp conversation, and a good one. Thanks for the chaos, the clarity, and the heat.
We have definitely seen a major pivot in real time today. While we disagree on the true value of a physical box, this has been an incredibly sharp and insightful debate. Thank you all for a fantastic conversation.
Thanks for keeping the signal clear tonight, everyone. Keep your voltages high and your glitches low. Studio 4090 is signing off.